Number 3, Michigan beats Ohio State for the second time in just that many years. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SlasherU. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Beck. And Steve, you thought Michigan was going to put the hurt on Ohio State. Well, look at that scorecard. That was the case. They win 45-23. They solidify themselves as the front runner in the Big Ten, as really a prime stop in the college football playoffs. I don't know if there's a scenario where they don't make the college football playoffs now, to be completely honest. I think Michigan's got themselves in as a lock. This Michigan squad looked fantastic in this one. Again, 45-23. At the beginning of this game, Ohio State really, it was a battle of the two halves, if you will, a tale of two halves. Ohio State really kind of ran away with it towards the beginning of the game. If it wasn't for a couple big passes by J.J. McCarthy, which, by the way, everybody kept saying he doesn't have the arm to keep up with Ohio State. Well, that obviously isn't the case anymore, right? Well, regardless, Ohio State really played and ran that entire first half. With the exception of one play or two plays here, Ohio State was running it. That completely changed when the adjustments happened in the second half. 28 points scored by Michigan. 21 of them scored in the fourth quarter. Oh, and did I mention they did this all without Blake Corum? So what a fantastic game by Michigan. I think this was a huge statement. Last year's victory was obviously a statement win for Harbaugh, his first one against Ohio State, but this one was in the shoe. This one was a big game for Ohio State. We're only just days away from this loss. This is the first loss for Ohio State, and people are already calling for Ryan Day's job. So this is a very big game. When you don't win this one, Ohio State is in trouble for maybe not making the college football playoffs now, and they're just sitting on their thumbs waiting for it to happen. Whether they can make it or not, they don't get to play this week in the Big Ten Championship. It will be Michigan versus Purdue in this one. Again, 45-23. I'm going to stop rambling here. I was just excited watching this game. This was by far my favorite game that we've watched so far this season. Steve, what was your thoughts on this one?
Well, now, this was the most watched game of the entire 2022 season.
It's a good one to watch.
19.6 million viewers at its peak. Highest rated football game since 2011. I didn't see a single down. I was so involved with FCS. I was relying on you for bringing me for updates and all. I didn't see a single down. I had to watch it in replay. And many of you might think that this is kind of cool that I'm wearing a vintage Seattle Pilots hat. It's actually for you Ohio State Buckeye fans that bet heavily on your team to win, because S is for suckers. I tried to tell you. I tried to warn you that this was going to happen. And it happened. And it happened the way that I thought maybe rushing wise, it might have happened more. But Ohio State giving up big plays, Michigan played them like a violin in the second half. They really did. Donovan Edwards had a 75 and an 85-yard touchdown.
Yeah. We are talking about a two-headed monster at running back now. We were worried that Blake Corum couldn't go. No worries. Donovan Edwards completely took over the show. It makes you wonder how worse this could have been if they had a 100% Blake Corum, because obviously they weren't stopping the run. That was just not the case. We did not see that happen whatsoever in this one. With obviously 216 yards from Edwards, 252 total from the the Michigan rushing team. Yeah, absolutely incredible. And I think we would have to bring up the immaculate play of Cornelius Johnson. The huge catches he made, 4 receptions, 160 yards. 2 of them were, beautiful touchdowns. He did a fantastic job beating the defenders, fooling them. Both the touchdowns, he was wide open. And that was on him for fooling the defenders, doing fantastic routes. Really good offensive play calling, fantastic field ability. J.J. McCarthy, he's got a little Josh Allen in him. There were some times he made some scrambles, and he decided instead of the run out of bounds to put his head down and, get a little hits. I think it might have been a little bit of the rivalry portion in there. He wanted to get his licks in here, maybe get a couple red and gray slide marks on his helmet. But there was a play where he rushed in he had a rushing touchdown, and he could have easily avoided the tackler. You could see it. He could have went behind his blocker and made it through. He decided to get in front of his blocker, put his head down, and get some hits, and then still make it in the end zone. I got a lot more respect for J.J. McCarthy after this ball game. I really do think that he earned the job at the beginning of the season, but he truly earned himself as the Michigan quarterback after this win. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. 3 touchdowns in this one, 263 yards in the air, and then 27 yards rushing with 1 touchdown. He did have a beautiful 19-yard rush again, which he put his head down. He drove. I mean, again, a little Josh Allen him. Looked good. I'm excited to see this team. I think this is a team that has the potential to win the whole damn thing, Steve. After watching them against Ohio State, we talked about how we thought Michigan was our favorites in the preview with this one. We did think that they were suckers for not taking Michigan with the points in this one, and I'm glad that I took Michigan with the plus 7.5. But regardless, when you look at what's next, they have to take on Purdue, which is turning into a pretty decent team. I don't think they'll have an issue with them. However, when you get to the college football playoffs, you got to assume they're probably going to be the number 1 or number 2 seed, probably most likely the number 2 seed in this one. Mm-hmm. There is a potential chance, Steve, that Ohio State could squeak in as the 4 seed. And we could see Ohio State, Michigan potentially in the national championship. Don't see that be the case, but there is a potential rematch here. It is not out of the question. It is a potential rematch. However, I do think Michigan can win the whole damn thing. Looking at what we have left between Georgia, TCU, Ohio State, maybe USC, I don't know if anyone can beat this Michigan squad the way they played against the Buckeyes.
It's funny, even going into the weekend, but then after I watched the game on a replay, going at kickoff time, I'm like, even if Ohio State loses this one, I think they should still be in the 4 slot, and I don't think USC or anybody else should pass them. Ohio State completely wiped any good thoughts that I had about their ability to be to compete for a national championship. And hopefully all the talk about Stroud for the Heisman, hopefully that's done too.
I think it is after his 2 picks. I think, and in what we saw from Williams, but USC, I think it is. I think it is gone. Yeah, he might still make a finalist, but I don't think he's going to be in the top 3.
Well, I think that's apropos because Stroud did show up for the first half of this game.
He did.
So he can show up for the first half of the Heisman ceremony and then just leave because he's not going to get the trophy.
Yeah, I think we just found out that Ohio State will be playing in the Rose Bowl. I think that's what we just found out. And it could be a good Rose Bowl. Maybe they'll play like someone like the University of Washington who got screwed and not playing in the Pac-12 championship. But regardless, I think Ohio State, if they do make it to the college football playoffs, maybe they will. I think USC's got the top notch ahead of them, especially since they're playing this week in the Pac-12 championship and Ohio State's sitting at home. That means a lot to the committee. I know it does. If you're going to if you're battling between a team that has 1 loss that's not even competing in their conference championship or a team with 1 loss that won their conference championship, the conference has to give it to the team that won their conference. When you're talking about 2 Power 5 schools, I especially a team that their 1 loss is only by a 2-point conversion at USC. So I believe if USC wins the Pac-12 championship, they're in. I think the only way we see Ohio State make it in is if if TCU loses bad to Kansas State. I think that's the only way we see Ohio State with a chance to make it in to the college football playoffs. That's my only thought on this one, because the Kansas State loss would mean less than a Michigan loss. So that would probably get Ohio State in. That's my only thought on this one. I'm not even sure if that's the case, but what's your thoughts on that one?
I don't think that there's any chance that Ohio State, even if TCU has earned a 4 bid just because of the season they've had to date, there's just no way that Ohio State sneaks in. And if that happens, you really have to question and wonder what this committee really is looking at. Are you ready for a really hot take that we can play back in 2024?
Of course.
Deion Sanders will be the head coach at Ohio State for the 2024 season.
Whoa.
Ryan Day is toast. Okay, they should be fixing him with a big fork, a big going away fork, so they can stick it in his back after the end of last year. He is absolutely on the hot seat. I think Deion's going to sit back another year, having seen this game, and say, "I will be treated like a savior if I come to Ohio State." Ryan Day, for me, this last 2 years has shown that his teams are not ready for the big time. They're good teams against bad teams, But when it's on the line, I think Ohio State's proven that they are just not there. And I think Deion Sanders, new Ohio State Buckeye coach, 2024.
We got to make sure old takes exposed don't listen to that one just in case it goes south. But
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I mean, there's a lot of talk about what's going on with Ohio State and its coaching, and some people don't think it's deserved because it's only one loss, but it's a big loss. It's to Michigan. I mean, you don't lose to Michigan. That is like your Super Bowl. It's been bigger than any other. It's been the college football playoff or anything like that for a very, very long time. So what's your thoughts on this game? Are you excited about the Michigan football squad, what they look like so far? Do you think they can win the whole damn thing? Because I do. I think they have the potential to do so, even without Blake Corum right now. What's your thoughts about C.J. Stroud? Do you think he's still a Heisman candidate? Do you think he's a finalist? Do you think Blake Corum is still a finalist after him being injured and not having an impact in this game? And
That's
Edwards
tough.
did something. Yeah, that's a tough question. So let us know all in the comments and questions below. I'll be sure to hit like and subscribe. Hit that bell while you're there too, as we're dropping new content every single day here at SlasherU.